Hello and welcome to Declutter Your Office. Fabulous for us to all be here from various parts of the world, and lovely to have you here. Mornings, afternoons, evenings to everybody. Thank you for joining us for this special workshop about decluttering your office, in particular, being a way to declutter and get organized at home. Hello, Bill. Awesome to see you here. My gold star student that I don't think has missed one of my workshops this year. So fabulous to have you here, Bill. Introduce yourself in the chat. Let us know where you're joining us from and what you would like to learn today. And what would be a good result by the end of the session today? Again, what would you like to learn and what would you like to focus on during the session? Whenever we come to something like this and we have a bit of a plan in mind and a bit of focus, it really can help us, extract the information that we need for us to be have some success today. I'm going to introduce myself shortly, but as I said, ask questions as we go along through the chat. And awesome that we are using that function already. Rhonda is from Dallas, Texas, and she'd know about limiting paper clutter. Fantastic. We will look at that. Mary Lou is, as I said, my virtual assistant. She's joining us from the Philippines. Faith is a safety consultant. She's in Newcastle, and she'd like to be consistent with filing. That is a good one too. We will certainly look at all of those as we're going through the session. As I said, what is your intention for today? What would you like to learn? Continue to share any ideas and thoughts we have in the chat as we go along. Today's session, we are going to focus on the physical stuff in the office. So what are you surrounding yourself in the office? But we will also talk about paper as well, as a couple of you will be interested in the paper. But that is a whole separate workshop as well that we will do in the new year. So Mary Lou, we might make a note that people are definitely interested in paperwork going forward. So we'll make sure we present that soon in full, but I will talk about decluttering paper today. And David, he is the other sales coach. So he helps people with their sales and he wants to get rid of paper. Fantastic. Thank you for that introduction. So I'm also going to talk about some practical tips to get started after today. Love to have your company here. It is fabulous to see you. But after today, let's have some practical things we can get started on and you can start decluttering your office. And the focus is sort of going to be office as in home office as well. But it would be applicable if you have an office in your more formal setting as well. And I'm also going to make a couple of offers to continue your decluttering journey with me. Nobody here is in Melbourne, so this one doesn't particularly apply, but my hands-on decluttering help is available, but also have 6-week online coaching, which is available. I'll tell you a little bit more about that. Sorry. I'm tripping over my words. And David says he's in Brisbane. Thank you, David. I didn't know where you were from, so thank you very much. I appreciate that update. We are going to move along. This is me. My name is Julie Cliff. My business is Space and Time. I'm a professional organizer and declutter coach. I call myself a professional organizer when I am in people's homes and doing hands-on help with them to declutter and get organized. Yesterday, I was in a beautiful 2-story brand new home, helping them set up their systems, permanent homes for their things. They just haven't had a chance to do it. Life gets busy, kids in the road and work and all of those sorts of things. And this afternoon, I'm going to help somebody with their Christmas decorations and get them sorted out. So I can't wait for that one. That'll be super fun. And also call myself a declutter coach when I'm in these sorts of situations, particularly online, when I'm transferring the skills and teaching you how to learn all of this for yourself so you can go and do the work for yourself. I am an executive assistant by trade, so helping others get and stay organized in an office environment is my background. Hello, Fatima, welcome. Awesome to see you. And a number of years ago, how many years ago? 9 years ago, I found a group of professional organisers in Melbourne that I still meet with monthly, and found out that this professional organising is a thing, and you can go into people's homes and help them keep organised. So as I was doing in an office environment, using systems and processes, going to talk about some of them today, and started my business Space and Time almost 8 years ago. I'm married. I have 2 boys. I'm just trying to think who's home at the moment. The oldest son is home. He's finished year 11. Youngest son has gone to school today. Last few days of the year, I think they finish in 2 weeks. And of course, I do online declutter coaching as well, which I will tell you more about. Now, some of you have been to my workshops before, so you would be familiar with my Space and Time organizing system. It's 6 steps I put together almost 8 years ago when I started to present these workshops, just to give it some sort of focus and flow. But they really are very important steps, I find, when working with my clients. So I'm just going to quickly run through them and then speak about them in more detail in relation to decluttering your office. So the first step in the Space and Time organizing system is stop the stuff. We'll talk about some ways to do that. Second one is your commitment to being organized. Then we want to sort the stuff, things you no longer need, which is the decluttering step. Easy storage for your stuff and your to-dos, and then maintenance. So we're going to go through all those 6 steps. As I said, they are all very important, and they are in that specific order. So stop the stuff. How can we stop more things coming into your office in the first place? First question, I suppose, to ask is, what's the big deal with having too much stuff? What's the problem of having too much paperwork or too many, superfluous things in our offices? Firstly, they can be a trip hazard, literally. I work in people's homes, not particularly hoarded homes. I have some specialist friends that I pass them on to, but still a lot of stuff. So there's piles around, and stepping over things like that it is just very difficult, and it's also dangerous as well. So we want to try and reduce those hazards, and Faith would be all about reducing hazards, as she does with people in the workplaces. So it's just as important when we are at home in our own work environment. So we really want to try and stop more things when coming into our spaces. And having too much paperwork and too much stuff is just overwhelming in our office. We're supposed to be there, productive, getting work done, making calls, whatever our main core business or just home life is. You might just be, paying a few bills. We want it to be nice and clear and enable us to be focused on the work that we are doing, so that we can get it done in a nice, quick manner, and then go on to do some more things, some fun things, walk the dog, whatever your fun things to do are. And often the things mount up because there isn't a process. And a couple of you sort of alluded to that, about what's the process for filing your paperwork and being more consistent with it. So we want to have a think about that process. Also, what to keep, what to let go of, and where to put it. So these are all important things in relation to why too much stuff is not good for us around the home and how we can stop it. So what we want to do as well to start this is to think about, what is the purpose of your office or your little nook, whatever it might be. What is the purpose of this space? Is it just a dedicated office, or is it a shared space? Sometimes it might be like a spare room, or it might be somebody's actual bedroom, or it might be in the living room. But we want to still be able to have clearly defined zones within those spaces. And that being said, we want to limit the amount of stuff that's in that room. So even if it is a spare room, we don't want to be in there doing our work at our office, at our desk, surrounded by the Christmas tree and all of those sorts of things. Again, we want to try and have a clear purpose of being productive and getting work done. Sometimes there can't be any other place in the home to store things sometimes, and maybe you are amongst that stuff, but we want to try and limit it. And we'll also talk about some different storage options through the process as well. And we want to stop dumping things in that room that don't belong in there, as I was just saying, really trying to keep that purpose for your office and for the productive work that you want to get done while you are in the office. Moving on to paperwork, we want to stop more paperwork from coming in. And a couple of you did mention that idea as well about going paperless. So let's start with the idea of unsubscribing from newspapers or magazines that you're not reading. You might have every intention in the world to actually sit down and read the daily newspaper. If that is the case, put it in the diary, make time and get it done, or unsubscribe and just forget about it and catch up on the news. There's some little beautiful snippet podcasts. I listened to one here in Australia that comes out of Sydney called The Squiz, just a little snapshot of the news of the day. So maybe we can get rid of some of that paper clutter that's coming in and we're not utilizing properly. And even just something as simple as putting a no junk mail sign on your letterbox. Let's stop the stuff from even coming in the front door in the first place. As I said, this first step of stopping this stuff just gives us an opportunity to be able to get to the backlog eventually, because there's not just more and more coming in. And we also like to encourage you all to use a notebook. I've got one notebook here, one notebook to rule them all. All of my notes are in this one place, and I guard it with my life. I did lose one year. It was quite a relief to lose it. And then it turned up again. But anyway, I usually keep a very good eye on it. But the idea of using a notebook is so you don't have 1,000 post-it notes or little pieces of paper cluttering up your desk as well. So try the idea of using one notebook. Also, stop more emails from coming in. Decluttering your emails and your digital decluttering is a whole new kettle of fish as well, and a whole separate workshop. We will get to that one again next year early in the new year. So if you can, ask for your utility bills to be emailed to you, set them up to be paid by direct debit if you can, if your money allows and your cash flow allows. And that means, again, that piece of paper to pay your bill, pay your electricity bill, water bill, doesn't even come into your office and cluttering up. And bank statements and those sorts of things are a good one as well. The amount of time I spend in people's homes opening unopened mail for those sorts of things it's quite outstanding, actually, the amount of time that I spend doing that. And also the idea of receipts being paper, more things coming in. Just keep the receipts you absolutely need to, as far as what your tax man says you need to keep receipts for, if it's related to your business. But, do you need to keep grocery bills? Do you need to keep your petrol receipts? Do you need to keep receipts for your lunch that you had last week? Again, there might be different tax reasons that you need to keep them. I'll talk about them a bit more in a minute. And of course, we want to keep receipts for big items that we may need to return or have a warranty period, those sorts of things. But we're really trying to stop the amount of paperwork that comes into our office in the first place. And again, that allows us to have the time to spend doing other things, not just juggling paperwork, and also allows us to get to the backlog and to be able to tackle that going forwards. So just asking them, what are your suggestions for stopping this stuff? Would love if you've got any ideas there that I haven't mentioned, pop it in the chat and we can share it with others as well, whether it might be stopping paperwork or redefining the zones, whatever you can think of to stop more stuff coming into your office. So step number 2 is your commitment to being organized. And unfortunately, there is no magic wand. The office cleaning fairies are not going to come unless you're going to pay me to come to wherever you are in the world and help you do this work. But mainly it is up to you. It's up to your commitment. It's up to you deciding to be organized, putting in the time and the effort and the persistence to be decluttered and an organized person. And we need to start to act like an organized person as far as putting things away as we're using them. We'll talk about some of those tips. How can we stay organized? We'll talk about that when we get to the last step, the maintenance step. But as I said, there's no magic fairy, no magic wand that's going to come and get this done. The stuff may have accumulated over a little bit of time, so it may take a little bit of time to unpick. But if we've stopped more things from coming in, we've got more of a chance to actually get the job done. And you will tackle it bit by bit, and we will get it decluttered. And one of the only ways I know to get decluttered and organized is to put it in the calendar and get started. Actually, physically write it in the diary or put it in your electronic calendar with all the bells and whistles to remind you, and keep that appointment to yourself as though you are going to the doctor. You wouldn't call the doctor at the last minute and say, sorry, I can't come, just because you don't feel like it. You would keep that commitment. So let's be committed to being organized and get the time in and start small. It might just a handful of paper. Haven't got a pile here I can grab, but just grab one little piece of paper, a handful, and let's get started. We'll talk about how exactly to do that in a minute. And also just plan out that time. Let's do 10 minutes, or it might be 30 minutes on Saturday. My clients that have been through my online programs in particular have found that little increments of time give them so much great success when it's continued over a period of time, rather than just trying to get it all done in one afternoon. You burn out, you lose interest, and then you put it aside for another 6 months. So that consistent approach with 10, 15, 20 minutes a day, maybe even a couple of times a day, is a fabulous way to get started on your decluttering journey. Again, it may take a while of those 10, 20, 30-minute increments to get through what you need to do, but it's certainly a great approach to get it done without the burnout. So what days a week are you going to start to get organized? What is going to work well for you to be committed to being organized? Just flying through these, we may have a bit of time at the end for more questions, but let's just see how we go through this. So because we are up to step 3, which is sort the stuff. Now, I love this sorting step. Doesn't matter what I'm sorting at a client's house. It might be in a desk drawer, like I'm giving as an example there. When we get everything out of the top drawer of the desk and put all the paper clips together, all the notepads, all the pens, it just makes a lot of sense to our brains when we can see it all sorted out in front of us. You might, at the moment, look in your desk drawer and it's just a big mess, higgledy-piggledy, things everywhere, things in there that don't belong in your office. I don't know what it might be, a kitchen whisk or something. Somehow it's made its way into your desk. But by doing this sorting step, you can really help our brain make decisions going forwards as to what to keep and what to let go. So we want to make this whole process as easy as possible for us to decide what we're going to keep and what to let go. And just a reminder that this step isn't the decluttering. You can start to let things go as you're going through this process, but it really is the sorting step. Putting like items together. Let me have a look at what we've got in the comments here. Thank you, David. I love that idea of 10 minutes in the evening each day. That sounds like a great way to get started. And Faith says possibly Friday might be good to schedule to work on the paperwork and clutter. That might be a good way to wrap up the week, Faith. Thank you very much both for your commitment there to being organized. I love both those ideas. Of course, there's no right and wrong answer. It's all about what will suit you and your situation. So thank you again for sharing. So here I'm going to particularly talk about sorting your paperwork. As I said in the previous slide, a natural flow just starts to happen when we start to put items together that belong together. I'm going to show you a picture of some sorting piles in a moment of medical paperwork. But what we do, we just get a handful of papers, don't rummage through the big pile and try and put things together. Just start with the top piece of paper and go, okay, that's my water bill, that's the electricity bill, that's the results from my doctor last week, and this is the vet's bill that I need to pay. So just start to put things together in like categories, and you'll see that some of those things get find some friends along the way. And this sorting, as I said, is going to help us decide what to keep and what to let go, because it's sorted and much more easy to process rather than a big pile of paperwork. But then, of course, it's going to help us to do the filing or the storage when we get to that step as well. So just we can sort by date as well, of course, putting things in chronological order, and maybe different categories that you would sort things into, of course, depending on what sort of paperwork you are going through. There's no right or wrong. Again, if you wanted to file something in a particular category rather than another, go ahead. But also you might like to put a pile together for to-do items, and also to file once you've been doing the sorting. And you could probably break it up a little bit too. Let's do a little bit of sorting like this. Then we could do a little bit of decluttering as to deciding to what to keep. We'll talk about that in a sec. And then a little bit of filing, put things away. And then we could come back and do a bit more sorting. So you don't have to sit and sort for 6 weeks until you get through all the paperwork in your office. But again, it's just a great way to be able to get started on this decluttering journey. And as that second last point there says, it's sorted papers allow you to see what you have. So it just makes more sense to our brains in these categories rather than just one big pile of paper. And just asking, do you have too much? Is there too much paper at your house? A couple of you have already commented that you were keen to look at paperwork today. So I think the answer will probably be yes. And we will continue to work on that. Good on you, David. Thank you. He does say yes. I love the honesty. And these, before we move on to the next step, this was some medical paperwork I filed when I was with a client a couple of years ago. The client wasn't even at home. She'd left me some instructions, and I sorted into piles here so she could file them. So there's a couple of different doctors she had seen a few times. So we sorted into these categories, and also some HCF benefit statements. That was her health care fund. So I put them into chronological order, and I think there was a general medical up the top at the back. So that was the piles the piles and the categories that I used that particular day. And then she could go through it, decided what she wanted to keep, and be able to file it from there. But this sorting, much easier to be able to understand this than the jumble that she had given me at the start of the day. So you might like to use some of these tips to be able to get started sorting your paperwork. So the fourth step, as I said, is the decluttering step, and it's all about things you no longer need. So when I was creating the 6 steps of the space and time organizing system, I wanted to put decluttering at this 5th step, but of course D didn't fit into the word system. So I had to come up with things you no longer need, but it means exactly the thing of let's start to let go of the stuff that we don't need. So in terms of your actual physical space, we'll talk about paperwork again in a minute, but the physical space, at this point, we can start to move things out of the office that don't belong in there. Again, if storage permits and that you can put things elsewhere, but also the idea of being able to just have the things in that space that belong in the office, the things that are going to help you do your work at your best, keep focused, be productive, rather than, as I said before, having the Christmas tree or Santa singing at you every now and then when you accidentally move your office chair too much and nudge you when you start singing Christmas carols. It will be difficult to stay on track with those sorts of distractions. So let's, if you can, get stuff out of your office that don't belong in there. And remember to keep focused on that vision that we sort of started to think about at the start of the session, like what is this space going to look like? If it is shared with as a spare room or spare bedroom, those sorts of things, we can still do that, but we really want to try and again still have the minimal amount of things in that room as we can. Of course, we can donate things to charities or to friends, or find a Facebook group where you can donate things that are in good condition. Of course, you can sell things as well. If you have the time and the inclination. I often just suggest to my clients just to give it away, just get rid of it. If it's $1,000 machine, you might want to spend some time on, Peloton bike or something you're no longer riding. Certainly take the time to, to sell that. But sometimes, we only have 168 hours a week. We really want to have a think about how we want to use our time. If we do want to spend our time putting things on Facebook or Gumtree or eBay, those types of places, or is it just as easy to donate if the items are in good condition? And then, of course, we can recycle stationery that's no longer working, like old pens and texters. Here in Australia, we have Officeworks and TerraCycle that take old stationery. So if you've got some of those stationery items you're no longer using, you can drop them off. Officeworks have bins out the front of their stores, and TerraCycle, you can look at their website and there are donation points for those as well. So have a go at that. I've got rid of quite a lot of office bits and pieces lately through Officeworks. Yes, Faith agrees, saying that selling stuff sometimes takes too much time. It is good to just get it out. You could be using that time if you're still working and you have a business. Use that time to be bringing in more clients into your business that you might be using to sell the items. So as I'm suggesting here about the idea in your office to let go of anything that doesn't serve you in your office right now. And there are lots of good places. If you've got something in particular, just Google it, like places to donate old speakers near me or something like that, whatever you have, or a bed or something. Google is amazing. It will come up with ideas on how to be able to let go of things there. And a lot of people just find that really makes them feel good to know that their stuff is going to a good home. They don't want it to go to landfill. Sometimes things do have to go to landfill. There's no fixing it. Nobody wants it. It's completely broken. There's not much we can do, but a lot of the time it does make us let go easier and loosen our grip on our stuff when we know that it's going to have another good life somewhere else. And getting back to our paperwork as well, we were talking about letting go of the paperwork that we no longer need. And I was mentioning about the idea of keeping up, checking out your tax records and what you need to keep. And that's in relation to, I've put Australian reference there of the ATO, which is the Australian Tax Office. But of course, wherever you are around the world, you would have a quick equivalent. And just look up keeping tax records and in your area, and they would give you suggestions on how long you need to keep your tax documents for, whether it's personal tax or business tax. Here in Australia, it's 5 years for personal and 7 years for business. I think that's the right way around. But again, check on the website or give them a call. They are very helpful, the ATO, when you call them. And they, but also check with your accountant. And of course, there's lots of different options if you're letting go of confidential paperwork to have the documents picked up for shredding, so that, confidential document destruction. Officeworks, again, have a great service where you can take a handful of paper into them to be shredded and they put them in their bins. But if you've got more and more, like quite a lot, you can look it up online, and for only a relatively small amount of money, really, rather than sitting at home with a tiny little shredder trying to do it yourself, you can have a shredding bin delivered to your home, so that if you're worried about client information or your own information or records of any sort that are confidential, look at letting go of that stuff through the proper channels. But of course, otherwise it can be just put out with your normal recycling if it's just newspaper articles or any of those types of things. And also think about the idea of scanning and keeping the document electronically. So you can get some great apps. I use Scannable, and that's by OneNote, Scannable. And you can just scan it straight to a PDF on your phone. It's just a little app, and it bundles it up neatly in a PDF, and you can save it to your electronic file. So you're not physically tripping over it. Again, that digital decluttering is a whole different kettle of fish, but you can give yourself a good title so you can find it and retrieve it again easily later on. So electronic files might be good for you. And also remember that the idea of any of these notes that we might have lying around, or a course that we've done, or some studies, the squiggles that you make as you're learning that information is all a part of the journey. It's not the actual destination. A little bit when kids are doing their artwork at school when they're young, they're learning to use a pencil or scissors or paint brushes. It's all about the learning and the journey, not necessarily what they end up at the end. We do like to hang on to some of those things the kids are producing at school or kinder and those sorts of things, but we don't need to hang on to everything that they have ever produced. So maybe we can take a photo or scan those as well, and just keep those very important things. And having electronic notes might be a good way to be able to reduce what you are going to have in your physical space. David's got an idea here on taking confidential documents to the Endeavour Foundation. Awesome. So they've got some shredding there. There is a nominal fee per archive box. That is awesome. If anyone is in Brisbane, the Endeavour Foundation, thanks, David. That's a great one. And there's probably lots of those sorts of places around if we just take the time to do a bit of looking around to be able to let go of these not important documents, confidential documents. So I was just talking about electronic files, but we can also use dictation to store our files as well. When I get home from my clients, this is my trusty client notebook, I'll get back, I'll open the app for my customer relation database, which is called Capsule. I'll open it up and I'll use the little microphone on the bottom of the keyboard. It's changed. I've got a new phone. Where am I? I'm going to just have a look at myself so I can see. On the bottom of the phone, bottom right-hand corner, or it's left on the screen, there's a little microphone. And you can tap that button and you can start talking, and it will do the dictation of what you've just said. And it's pretty good. You can talk pretty fast, and it will just do voice to text very easily. So that for that example, I just used my email, but I do that sort of thing to transfer my written notes into my CRM when I get home. So you might have, again, scraps of paper that you want to keep long term, or be able to search by using your electronic files. Maybe that voice to text might be handy so that you've not got so many bits of paper around. We can transfer them and keep them in a Google Doc, in Word document. straight in your customer database like I do with mine. So I hope maybe that might be something that's helpful for you. Faith says she uses her Google keyboard on her phone. Yep, I reckon it's so handy and I use it so often. And I try and include it in these workshops whenever I can to remind people. So what technique there is working for you? What have you thought, oh, I've never thought of that for getting rid of documents or helping me let go of things I no longer need? We'd love to hear your thoughts in the chat. But we're talking about letting go of the physical stuff in the office that we don't need. Maybe there's a dead printer that died 2 years ago and you've set the new printer on top. Maybe it's time to let go of the old one and be able to recycle that, take that back to be recycled. So that's the physical stuff in your office. And then we were talking about your paperwork and then your tax documents, scanning things and keeping them on electronic file, and also that voice to text. Yes, Scannable app. Thank you, Faith. Scannable is a great one. And it's just so easy. And just to be able to take the photo of it or scan or using the image to turn it to a PDF is so easy. And then you can either save to your phone or email straight from Scannable. So as I said, that is by OneNote. So if anybody uses OneNote, which is Microsoft, I think, you can save it straight to OneNote as well. All right, let's keep moving along. So that was things you no longer need. So we're up to this important step of easy storage. As I said at the start of this talk today, these steps are all in sequence for a reason. And this step is one of the main reasons. I often go to people's homes and I've got so many containers and so many baskets and gadgets and folders because they've bought them ahead of time and they haven't done the decluttering, the sorting, the decluttering, and then the letting go and deciding what to keep. So they had no idea what they were buying the storage for. So I always say, if you're going to put a new storage system in, whether it's for your paperwork or something in your office, really have a good clear out first, get the decluttering done. And then when we're at this step, we know what we're keeping, we know how much paperwork, we know the resources we need, then we can look at the right storage options for you and how you're using your office. So when we're talking about things in your office, it's really talking about what's the system that you're setting up around yourself so you can do your best work. We don't want to be looking around the house for a stapler. We don't want to be going, oh, who used the highlighters last or the scissors or whatever it is that you're using. We want them all at our fingertips. So these are the physical items in our physical space in our office. So it might be paperwork. I'm going to talk about some ideas for storing paperwork in a moment, but you might have files like a drop file in a cabinet or a folder. But then, as I just mentioned, some of the stationery. What are your favorite pens? What is your favorite paper and stapler? All of those important items, and the trusty sticky tape. I used to have a girl at my work nearly 30 years ago that would always borrow my sticky tape. It's like, go and get your own sticky tape. So I ended up sticking my sticky tape to my desk so she couldn't take it. So that's just crazy. But my point being, we should have these things so that we can reach and we don't have to go to somebody else's desk to borrow it. And what other resources do you need for your work? Are there magazines that you do reference or catalogs, and are they all in date? Or do we not need those resources at all and can just Google it and look it up online? But sometimes it is just as easy to look up, a piece of paper and just grab a folder. I do have my procedure sort of manual for my business just here to be able to grab. So sometimes those physical resources are really handy to have at our fingertips. And what else do you need in your business or in your life to be able to make, be able to get things done nice and quickly and with little effort? and with little frustration. So we're talking about our storage for our stuff. And as promised, talking about storage for our paperwork as well. Of course, as I said, there is no right and wrong way to store and file your paperwork. You can put it in an alphabetized filing cabinet. I just have a little one down here to my right hip. It's a two-drawer unit. Could be culled even further than that, but it's just two drawers. And then, of course, how you file things in that filing cabinet is up to you as well. Could you call it E for energy bills, or O for origin energy, like the energy carrier? Or do you call it water bills or Yarra Valley water? Up to you. Wherever and however you are going to go looking for it is what you can call it in an alphabetized system like that. Also, we talk about electronic files. When you're naming them, give it a nice long title with some good descriptions. You can put the date at the front if you want to sort by date. And then we can look for keywords as well in electronic files. Maybe a box with a current year on it. I'll show you that in a moment. And this easy storage, as I said, it is deliberately in the system at this point for a reason, but it's also deliberately called easy storage, because if it's not easy, you will not do it. You'll just put it on top of the printer, or you'll just stuff it somewhere that it doesn't belong if you have to do too many steps, like open a door, open a drawer, and open a box that's in the drawer. We want to make it nice and easy for filing our paperwork. So this might be all you need, maybe for your tax documents ready to give to the accountant, or it might be for a rental property, like an investment property. It's probably not the best way to file all of your paperwork, but at least it is in one spot. I have been told, it was a number of years ago now, a girl reached out to me on Facebook and she said, I'm going to unfollow you because how can you possibly suggest to us that we store our paperwork in a box? So I just went back to her and said, thank you so much for your opinion. That's no problem. I appreciate that. It can be difficult to retrieve your paperwork when it's in a box. It depends on your circumstances and how much you have. But sometimes the clients that I work with, their paperwork is all around the house. It's in the laundry, it's in the toilet, it's in the basement, it's everywhere. So at least if it was in one spot, you would be able to have much more chance of being able to retrieve what you need. So completely agree, it's not for everyone or everything, but it might be a good start if you wanted to use this just as part of the sorting process as well. Then you can start to get a little bit more fancy with indices for the months of the year, or different parts of the home, like a manual, or, you know, the sky's the limit as to how you want to categorize things within a folder. This might be a lever arch folder or a display folder, all sorts of different ways we can store and categorize whatever is going to work for you. What is the best retrieval for you? And the easiest to file, of course, too. And then you can get really fancy and pretty with different colors, if that's going to work for you as well. A nice big text and headings as well. Again, making this easy storage for your stuff. So what sorts of storage do you think you will use going forwards? We'd love for you to pop your ideas in the chat. Are you a filing cabinet type person, or do you like to grab a folder, a lever arch folder with indices in it? What do you think is going to work well for you? So we are up to the last step, this maintenance tools, and we will have a little bit of time for a chat afterwards, which is fabulous. Just one quick comment. Rhonda, thank you. She says a filing cabinet and boxes. I love it. Thank you. Sounds perfect. And great way to get started. And Faith says she uses an electronic and filing system. So that's good. A bit of a combination. I'm a bit like that, Faith, too. I like some paper, but love to be able to retrieve things electronically as well. Again, as long as we're doing good naming of our documents so that we can do those searches and look for things. All right, so let's look at this final step, the maintenance step. We've gone to all this trouble to sort, I can't even remember my own steps, to sort, to do clutter, and then, letting go of the things we no longer need, and then doing the storage. But we want to be able to continue that over time. Decluttering isn't something to do every now and then. It is something to do every day. And these are some steps we can do right now to be able to move forwards with our organizing journey, and to start to act like organized people. Because, being organized, as I said earlier, doesn't just happen. We need to make these commitments and start doing what organized people do. One of those things is to file paperwork straight away. I was with a client maybe a month ago, and she wanted to, we just decided, yes, she was going to keep this piece of paper. It was a course she'd done lately, and she wanted to keep it. So the next step she wanted to do is put it in an in tray to be filed. And I said, why do you want to do that when the filing cabinet is just down at your left foot? And we can put it straight in the filing cabinet now, and it's done. And she went, can I do that? And I said, absolutely. Who wants to sit down for half a day and do filing as a filing session? Back in the day, we might have had an executive assistant or a personal assistant doing our filing for us. We'd put it in the tray and someone else would put it away. But why not just put it straight away? We've got the bill out that we needed to pay. We've put paid on it, put the receipt number straight down into the file, and it's done. So I would encourage you to do your filing as you're doing it straight away. Second tip that we can continue on and do right now today is to diarize the time to take action on your to-dos in your in tray. So this is sort of a two-step process. In 2 weeks' time, we have managed a time management workshop, and I'm really going to be talking a lot of how to manage everything that's in our diary. So we'll go really in deep with managing our time and getting our to-dos done. But in this instance, it's about, because we might have an in tray of items to do, and we might schedule 1 or 2 times a week to look at that in tray, because again, the in tray is not going to magically have a fairy come along and do those items. We need to do them. So it might be Tuesday and Thursday each week. We spend 10 minutes on our in tray processing that, as well as I want you to put 1 or 2 times in a diary. I do it once a week, is to look at the week ahead. It's normally on a Sunday afternoon. I'm getting ready for my clients. I start to contact the clients for Monday and Tuesday and say, looking forward to seeing you at 10 o'clock Monday. And what are we going to do this week? And that's just my little looking forwards. And they might come back, which rarely happens. They say, oh, sorry, I can't make it this week. Or I'll go, oh, hang on a minute. I've got 2 people booked at that same time. And just by looking ahead and planning at a specific time a week, we can make up as far as recognize any of these clashes that are coming along the way, rather than just blindly going day at a time. So really would love you to use your diary for that, and to be able to planning and using your time. Thanks, Mary Lou. She's just put the link in the chat for the time management workshop in 2 weeks' time at the same time. So follow that and register if you have not already done so. We'd love to have you on board, and we're really going to get into the nitty-gritty of our time management there. But as a maintenance tool, really have a good way of using your diary to action your in tray, and also looking at the week ahead so we can continue to be organized, which means preparing, looking ahead and being ready for any appointments we have, and keeping on top of the clutter that's in our office. And also choose the time of day that suits you as well. I'm a morning person. Got up at 5:10 today, ready for our business at breakfast meeting where I saw both Faith and David. Awesome to see you both again. not normally up quite that early, but please don't ask me to do anything past 9 o'clock because I will be winding down and getting ready for sleep, ready to sleep in bed 9:30. But you might be more like an afternoon or an evening time. So your maintenance and doing some of these things and your decluttering, find the right time of day for you. Please don't declutter at 3 o'clock in the morning though. But I don't think that sounds very productive. Try and keep it a bit earlier than that. And then periodically review all of these 6 steps of the system to keep things in order in relation to decluttering and organizing your office. So which new habit will you take on to help you stay organized? Will you file your paperwork straight away? Will you diarize time to take action on your in tray? Or will you do something different that I haven't suggested? We'd love to hear. David says file straight away. I think that sounds like a good way to get started. And then again, we can start to tackle the backlog. We can look at some of those things that have been sitting around for a while. But if we're dealing with what's in our hands straight away is a great way to get going. Rhonda says she's going to be committed to being organised. Good on you, Rhonda. Thank you. I think that is a really good way to look forward and be able to take what we've learned today and into this afternoon. We can start right away. So what we've been talking about today is following these 6 steps of the space and time organising system. There'll be a few of you, as I said, particularly Bill, that's been to all of the workshops this year, following this same 6 steps. As I said, I love the 6 steps because they work and I use them all the time with my clients, but also it just gives us a really good structure to be able to follow, and then we can tailor exactly to these areas of the home, and this one in particular is the home office we've been talking about today. During the session, we talked about reviewing, unsubscribing, automating any of these electronic or paper things that are coming in. We set up to arrive electronically where we could with our electricity bills or utilities of any sort. Then we sorted them into like items. We set up the permanent homes or their storage in the right way for you, and easy to retrieve and easy for us to be able to keep up. Thank you, Fatima. She says she loves the idea of revisiting things. It works so well, Fatima. So you might go through once and decide, oh, I'm not sure about that. I'm going to keep that for a little bit longer. But in a few weeks' time, you might come back to that and have another look and go, no, I really don't need that. And that is a really good way. So if you're not quite sure, I'd really probably like you to let go of it, but just hang on to it for a little bit longer and come back to it. I think that revisiting is a really good one. So thanks for sharing that with us. So here we are. Oh, heck, we're running just on time. Nobody's in, Fatima, you're in Melbourne, I think, but if anyone needs any hands-on help or they have friends that are in Melbourne, tell them to come my way. They will need to book in for next year because I haven't got any more time this year, but we'd love for them to come along or get my hands on help. And I can come and do that with them if you are in Melbourne, or as I said, if you have some friends. But otherwise, if you would like some help to set a clear vision for your office and be able to explore ideas for letting things go and delve a little bit deeper from what we were talking about today, we'll have a 6-week program and each week going from $150 per week. And so let me know if you need some more information about that. And as we mentioned, and Mary Lou put the link in the notes for our next workshop, which is time management. And that's at the same time in 2 weeks' time, 8th of December at 10 a.m. Australian Eastern Daylight Time. And that will be all about time management tips. Special offer to you for joining us today is a free 30-minute strategy call. So if you can book over the next couple of weeks, 5 weeks, that's probably running right into Christmas, but book right away. Mary Lou will put the link shortly so you can book that time. Let's have a chat about your decluttering journey. That's a free chat, obligation free, and we can get you sorted out at home. We've just got a couple of minutes. Thank you all for coming. James, I saw you snuck in at some stage as well. Welcome. I'm glad to have you aboard. And what other, thank you, Mary Lou. She's got the discovery call link there. Any final questions before we wrap up in about 4 minutes time? And Mary Lou would probably like a photo. So if anyone would like to put on your cameras, like to smile so we can share it and let everybody know we've had a great time today at our workshop. You're ready to do that, Mary Lou? 1, 2, 3, smile. You got us?
Julie, I mean the presentation, I cannot see everyone.
Oh, unshare. Good idea. Thank you. Yes, unshare. Where's the right button? Hang on. No, you don't need to see my email either. Stop share. That's the button I need. Thank you. Try again. We can smile.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. What do we got? What else is in the chat? Faith says, thank you, Julie. Great tips. I'm looking to get started on organizing my office and documents in a systematic way. I'm sure you will. Faith, you're a very systematic person with your awesome health and safety work that you do. I'm sure you'll do a great job there. Any specific questions of something that I didn't get to that you'd like some more help with? If there's anything, just drop me an email. I'm happy to chat. Yes, David.
Hi, Julie. I put one in the chat. Do you have any tips on decluttering hard drives with confidential information?
Oh, to get rid of the whole hard drive, or?
Yeah, I'm concerned if I just give a computer away and it's still got stuff on it, then it may put client or personal information at risk.
Yeah, the only way I know how to do that is to take it out and smack it with the hammer, but that's not going to be good to be able to pass it on to somebody else to use. But no, I don't know the exact way to do that, but there would be a program or something that you could run to delete that, but I don't exactly know what that was. My husband's not here today. He's an IT guru. He would be able to help, but let me know if you get stuck and I can ask him.
Okay, thank you.
But good thing to think about, because we don't want to be giving old devices or donating things to people with our confidential information.
Yeah, thank you.
No, thank you. Well, I think we'll wrap it up there. As I said, if there's any other specific questions, send me an email. You'll have all my details from yes, James, there will be a replay. Mary Lou will email she'll email the link out for the YouTube recording, so you'll be able to catch up, rewatch it. Great to have you all on board. Thank you, Faith. Thanks, James, Rhonda, David, and Bill. Another gold star to you, Bill, for being along today. Look forward to seeing you all at Time Management in 2 weeks. Thanks so much, and we'll see you there. Bye for now.